Hey everybody, here we are again for another nice visit by John Brand of Buckaroo Leather. He stopped by here at Woodson Bridge Estates, Shirley's and my new home, located on the banks of the Sacramento River. John gave me a call and said, Chuck, let's get together and talk about something. He's been on his calls here in Northern California, and John got into a conversation this afternoon that he wanted to share with everybody. John, what's going on?
Well, just making my rounds up here, calling on our wonderful dealers in Northern California, and I stopped by Barnes by Hera in Corning yesterday, and a very important point a customer happened to bring up. Wanted to know why a set of our reins was $50 versus another set of reins hanging near it that was only $18. And so I know in our past videos quite often we've talked about American-made tack and how our tack fits and how our tack performs, but I really wanted to take a minute to try and explain to everybody as well as I can on the video how important the communication, the feel of the leather, the value of the leather, in order to you to make an educated decision on why you'd rather spend $50 on a set of reins versus $18.
So it's then price and value, John, the two things to consider. That makes good sense.
Right. As you can see, these two reins here.
Let me come in on those, John. You got, put your hands down a little bit. Okay, you got two sets of reins, one on the one hand and the other on. Okay, two sets of reins. They're hanging differently.
Yes. This one here is one of our reins, out of Herman Oak harness leather, and this rein here is imported.
Okay.
Okay. And on the tag on it, it didn't say anything about where it was made.
All right.
So they weren't real proud of where they had made it. In our rein, we have a complete description within the tag of where it's made, how it's made, directs you to our blog and all our videos on how we do make it on every product. Now, the difference between these two reins is in the feel, the communication between you and your horse. That's so important so that the horse can feel the signals that you're giving them. And it's because the leather, the Herman Oak harness leather, American-made leather, is more dense.
Okay.
And the communication follows through. The drape in your rein is important. It's not flighty, flipping in the air and
so like the other rein just kind of flutters,
there's no
right?
to it, Chuck.
Okay, it's body then. All right, body. Very good. Okay.
You have no feel to it. This particular rein has stitching on it, but the stitching is standing up above the leather.
Okay, can I get a close-up if I come in on that, John? Hey, John, we had to move around for the sun a little bit, and there was one point that you brought up when we had the camera off, that the less expensive set of reins with imported leather does suffer a major problem. Now, this is a new set of reins, is that correct?
Yes, this is a brand new set of reins that was hanging on the rack, and in order to have the most density in the leather, you need to be able to take, like our leather, like this one, you bend it like this, and there's no change in the consistency of the leather. It bends, and it has the same bend no matter where through the feeling in your hand. Okay. That means that the leather is of quality. This rein right here, I've only bent it twice. I'll bend it again for you right here. It's stiff. It feels like cardboard, and it cracks.
It actually cracked by your bending it, is that correct?
Yeah. See, it is broken right here. That actually broke nearly in half just by bending it. And this is... Okay.
Just a minute. I'm getting in there. Yep.
See that?
There you go. Yep. Cracked right there. Wow. Now, you mentioned the stitching, which we can't see because of the darkness of the rein. But basically, the stitching is raised. You use the word raised stitching. I cannot, because of the light, focus in on that. But I was able to see on your rein, your stitching is different because First of all, if we go back to your plant videos from last year, I remember your people showing me how you actually put an indent in the leather and then stitched, so the stitching is recessed. Is that a correct word?
Exactly.
Let me see if I can get in here. And
you don't want to feel the stitching.
Okay, the stitching is there, but you can't feel it.
Right, right.
Okay.
We have the soft shaft lining for a supple feel. We rub it down with our super supple sauce.
Oh, you want to say that again? Super supple sauce.
Supple sauce.
Oh my
So it
God.
has a perfect feel, ready to use, hanging on the rack.
Okay. So overall, basically, when you met with Jennifer at Barnes by Harrah's, her customer was concerned about the price, which I can see in this economic times. There's a world of difference between prices of anything. But if a horseman is going to buy some tack, they're looking for safety, number one, and they're also going to be looking at what is the value of that tack. It seems to me that the less expensive set of reins would be replaced more often. Is that really what happens, John?
Yes, Chuck. Yes.
Okay.
You don't get near the life, and even as much important as your money you're spending is a tool. This is your tool for riding that performs and works for you.
It's kind of like that carpenter that buys the $9 hammer at Walmart versus the carpenter that buys a $79 hammer.
Right.
Because now all horsemen aren't working horsemen, but if you do own a horse and you're enjoying your horse, that represents an expense in itself.
Yes.
So if you're going to have tack, which is there for safety and your ability to enjoy your riding, you might as well get the most value.
Yes.
And that's the one thing that American made, American tanned. I want to talk a little bit about that. What's the basic difference between the tanning process at Herman Oak leather versus some of these imported leathers, John?
Well, first off, the Herman Oak uses American raised, bred, and fed steer hides.
Not cow hides.
Not cow hides, but
Okay.
steer hides. The important part is they are American fed. The leather to begin with, before it is tanned, is of superior quality versus other countries that have very, primitive
Poorly
ways,
fed animals.
poorly fed animals, and then on top of that, it takes Herman Oak 6 months to tan the leather properly. Whereas in the other countries, they have sped up the process with primitive tanning methods. They've, like maybe say 4 or 5 weeks.
Chemical cured and so on.
Cures
Right.
and different
Okay.
things.
All right.
Right.
All right, so we've got the American raised beef, we've got the Herman Oak American since 1861 in St. Louis, doing things the same way. Then when you get the leather, your craftsmen at Buckaroo Leather here in California handcraft these products.
Correct.
Each one of those grooves that we talked about stitching is done by hand.
Right.
Obviously, you have a sewing machine that helps in the stitching.
Right.
And then, of course, what I love today is the super supple sauce. We're going to talk about that more later. John, I've got to head on home for dinner. I'm glad you stopped by. Well, I don't have far to go, do I, to go home? And it's good to see you coming by here in Corning, California. And, of course, we're always glad when you stop by and visit us at Barnes by Harrah's. So not only should our friends go to buckarooleather.com, but also stop by barnesbyharrahs.com.
We'd appreciate all you can do to support, as we do, the American way, cowboy way, and we employ American citizens.
Amazing. Okay, John, thanks an awful lot.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.